Hello, Carrie. I was wondering
Hello.
if we could start off by you just explaining a little bit about yourself and when you got diagnosed and what your history with any previous episodes of rhabdomyolysis has been.
I didn't get diagnosed till 8 and a bit years ago. So I was 44 when I got diagnosed. My sister, she's got it as well. She got diagnosed a bit before me, maybe a year before me. All our lives we knew something was wrong, you know, like we were different, but you're lazy, you can't be that tired, you're walking and things like that, but you know there's something wrong. So all of my life I only did whatever I could. I never ever, because I knew how much it hurt if ever I did anything wrong, so I just didn't. I just did it at my own pace. And then my sister was in hospital on an IV drip, and that's when they decided to test her. And she came back, had a muscle biopsy, and she came back as positive. But like I said, that was only 8 to 9 years ago now. So really, I didn't change anything because I was already just doing what I could.
Yeah. So your sister had that bad episode of rhabdomyolysis, but you hadn't.
Yeah, well, even when we were kids, you know, like I remember when I was at work once and I did 5 sit-ups and I was in bed for a week. I couldn't stand up straight, and Mum was like, "Oh, don't be so daft." And I was like, "I can't stand up straight." And then, you know, even opening jars and daft things, and you'd think, how on earth have I done that? Yeah. So from a teenager, if I couldn't do it, I didn't do it. I didn't really care what anyone thought. I just thought it's not worth the pain and everything hurting just to do it, so I didn't. Whereas my sister was more, well, I'll do it. And then, like I said, she ended up in hospital from a bike ride. And that's when we decided she would get tested. And then I went to Newcastle for a DNA test, and obviously it came back with McArdle's disease. And then since then, I've been careful. I'm always careful. If I can't do it, I don't get me wrong. I've been skiing, I cycle, I walk. I've got 4 kids. I've got 3 grandkids. I just do everything at my own pace. And if I'm having a bad day, I'm having a bad day. I do less than I normally would. But I do try and do everything. And I'd never been in hospital with it ever, even before I was diagnosed, after I was diagnosed. And that was it.
This bad episode that we're going to talk about, that was the first really bad one you'd had and the first time you'd been hospitalised. Which is amazing, isn't it, to have got through life so
I know.
It's very good.
I know. I got to,
you know, obviously when something comes out of the blue like this, it can be really the most unusual circumstances. So perhaps you could now tell us about what happened.
Yeah, like I said, I'm never 53 and I've never been in hospital with it ever. But it was snowing, so the kids and the grandkids were going sledging. As I said, I'll try, and fair enough, won't sledge. Fair enough, I'll walk up the hill slowly, but I will get to the top, albeit very slowly. But when we were up there, my granddaughter, she's like 1 and a bit, was cold, so I said I'll take her back to the car. Probably stupid in hindsight, but I thought, no, it'd be all right, we'll just go back and sit in the car. So I was carrying Cece, but where the sheep had been on the snow, it was really, really muddy and slippy, but obviously I couldn't see, and I slipped. But I do, as I said, I am quite clumsy, so I do fall over, but normally I just flop to the ground, wait there for a while till I feel all right, and then I'll get up. But because I had my granddaughter, I tried not to hurt her when I fell. So I slipped awkwardly. Then because she was crying, I tried to get up, and then, God, that was it. As soon as I did it, I knew my thighs had gone when the pain. And so I was just sat on the floor and I couldn't move. It was absolutely horrendous. So I phoned my daughter up and said, "You'll have to come over, I've fallen over." So they came running over, bless them, my son-in-law, my kids all came running over. And luckily there was another lad there, Ali, that my friend. So my son-in-law and Ali lifted me like very carefully onto a sledge, and I got sledged off the hill with everybody. Look, boy, honestly, at the time I didn't care. You know how much it hurts, and I was like, oh God. So my poor granddaughter's saying scared, because obviously I'd fallen over with her. But at that time I was like, just get me home, I'll be all right. So this pulled me down on the sledge, lifted me into the car, but by this time my thighs were just excruciating. They'd swollen up. I got home, so I said, I'll take it. 1 cocodamol, plenty of fluids, and I've been fine. It literally an hour or two, and I'm fine, absolutely fine. No, like every time ever I've done it. So me thinking that would work, I did that. That Saturday, I was on the sofa. Fair enough, my legs were hurting, but I felt all right in myself. The Sunday, I had something to eat, still on the sofa, still couldn't move my legs. By Monday, I was in bed, my legs were killing me. I was trying to drink, and I'd got in touch, didn't I? And I was trying to drink. Robert was helping me, my husband, to the loo and everything. And I thought I was just like trundling through it and I would be okay. Honestly, I did. Like, but then by the time it got to like Monday afternoon and Tuesday, I just didn't get out of bed. I was trying to drink, but then by this time I was throwing up, and like, so that obviously set my stomach off.
I think it must have been the Monday that we spoke, and
yeah,
that's the situation. And my feeling was that normally in those circumstances you would need to go to hospital, but of course, with the COVID pandemic going on, with the hospitals overloaded and the risk of actually getting infected with COVID when you're in hospital, you know, we decided that you should manage it at home. But then it was the Tuesday, wasn't it, that things got so bad that you decided to call for an ambulance.
But by the time it came to Tuesday, really I couldn't eat anything, drink anything, I couldn't keep anything down. And I just, sounds drastic, but honestly I felt like I was dying by the time it got to Tuesday night. Yeah. So I said to Robert, just call an ambulance. I said, honestly, I said, this isn't right. I said, this is awful. So it was like 6 hours for the ambulance, because obviously like they're busy, aren't they? And then even then I was thinking, should I just leave it? You know, will I be all right? Should I just leave it and stay at home? I'm so glad I didn't though. So the ambulance came, we went to hospital, and I was like, honestly, all my life I've said, oh, if it gets really bad, your muscles swell up, the breakdown, you're going to rhabdo, you could end up on kidney dialysis. But when it actually happened, I actually had no idea what really actually happened. You know, so when I got there and I was trying to explain, and like by this time I wasn't even like completely coherent. You know, I was just, right. I don't know, I just was on another planet. And I was saying to them, I'm in rhabdo, but for some reason rhabdoplasty kept coming in. And I was like, I'm in rhabdo, honestly. And then I said to the consultant, I've got McArdle's disease. And she was like, oh, how would you spell it? And she was like Googling it on a phone. And I was like, I thought, that's it. What am I going to do now? So
I'm right in saying that you had forgotten to take your emergency card or your booklet or anything like that.
Oh, I'd got my cards in the top drawer of my dressing table, and by the time I actually decided I was going to hospital, like the kids, Carly packed a bag for me thinking I'd be like in and out the next day. So I didn't take my card, and I didn't even have the energy to tell them where it was. So when I got there and she was Googling, I was like, what an idiot. Like, why didn't I just take it, leave it in my bag, you know, sort of thing. But then they obviously came in, and I said, I just need fluids, because that's all I could think of. Just put me on fluids. I've read that you just need fluids to flush your kidneys out. So they were like, well, yeah, if it's rhabdo, you need fluids. So they hooked me up, 4.5 litres of fluid overnight, and nothing came out. So they were like, you're in acute renal failure. Your kidneys have failed. Right. So you'll need dialysis. Well, obviously I didn't know what dialysis was. And you're just like, joking, what, like by this stage, I'm thinking, why didn't I come in? What have I done to myself? You know, like to go from never being in hospital in 53 years to now I've gone into kidney failure and I need kidney dialysis. So the renal specialist came like the following morning and said, you need kidney dialysis, and they put like an arterial line in. I think it's more the scary because you don't, much as I knew it could happen, you don't really know what could happen if you just leave it and you don't go into hospital. I just kept thinking I'll be all right. But in hindsight, if I'd have known, I'd just gone straight to hospital. As soon as I felt really bad, I'd have thought, right, now I need a drip, go straight to hospital. But because I'd left it and stayed at home, obviously my kidneys had shut down and that was it. I needed dialysis.
How long were you then on dialysis? I understand you have it in sort of a few hours at a time and then another few hours the next day or something. But how long did that take?
Yeah. The first day, they put the arterial line in and they said, oh, we'll leave it settle in. I was like, well, can I not just try and have dialysis today? Because obviously I still felt absolutely drastic. I felt horrific. I'd never been out of bed for like 5 days by this time, 6 days. And she said, oh, well, we'll try. So they did, bless the hospital. They took me to a side room and I got dialysis for 2 hours that day. But then my blood clogged up. So then I was like, how do you get that blood back in? She was like, oh, it's not that much. And I was like, all right, fair. But it looked loads. But after the first one, I came back, had a cup of tea and a sandwich. I thought, oh God, I feel like $1 million. That soon wore off. The next morning I felt drastic again, couldn't get out of bed again. So then I had 3 hours the next day, but my bloods were still all wrong. Then 4 hours the day after, and that it's like somebody taking your blood out, putting it through a fridge and putting it back in. And then I just couldn't open my eyes on like the afternoon after that. And then on the next day, well, that afternoon, that night, I actually got changed and everything, because I said, gee, I feel like I've been laid here forever. I said, I just need to sit up and get up. So the next day, I had another 4 hours of dialysis, but my blood still weren't right. And I was thinking, how many do you normally need after, you know, like a McArdle's fall or whatever? But apparently it's not really. If I'd gone earlier, I would have only needed an IV drip. I wouldn't have needed kidney dialysis. Apparently it's not that common to need dialysis, unfortunately. No. Well, good for everybody else, not good for me.
Yeah, it's just strange how some people can do really bad episodes and not need dialysis, and other people need it much, you know, with a much lesser sort of McArdle's injury. Just that delay in going to hospital, as you say, led in your case, and that was what really led to needing the dialysis.
Yeah, if I'd have gone sooner, but obviously because I'd left it, I'd well and truly blocked my kidneys up, and like even when I was having dialysis, you know, it didn't make that much difference. But the consultant said it's like a colander and it's completely blocked. We need to try and like flush them out. Yeah. So I had 4 lots of dialysis. Then they left it a day just to see what my bloods did, but they still weren't coming down. But then in between this, there was a COVID outbreak on the ward, so I had to get moved into isolation till I had a negative COVID test. But then I still had to stay in isolation anyway, obviously, for the 10 days. So by this time I was in a room by myself. So when I went for the next dialysis, and the consultant came and said, oh, well, we'll just leave it, see if your bloods do change or anything. The creatinine's still way too high. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right.
Right, yeah.
So that was the first time I Googled anything. I was like, right, what can I do to try and get this level down, you know, so I can actually go home? And it was apples, don't drink milk, cheese, juice, drink juice and water. So that was it. 2 days I was on an apple juice and turnip trying to get it down, like walking around my bedroom, which was titchy obviously, but just to try and get things moving, you know. So I did that for 2 days, and luckily on the second day, the consultant came and said, they've come down a bit, nowhere near enough. Like, it was 800, then 400. And it's supposed to be between 90 and 120. So then it was 2 weeks since I've been home, and the levels are 147 now.
Right.
So they're not normal, but they're miles better.
Yeah.
And I feel all right in myself after what happened. My thighs don't. My thighs are non-existent. I can't even like go down and get up. But I just think that'll take time. But yeah, it was scary. And I honestly, like I said, 53, and I'd never been in hospital, never done anything ever drastic. Yeah, twinged things, done things, but just rested and drank, and it's been fine within a day or two. But this time, no, I just stayed at home, and obviously it was just the wrong thing to do. Everything I did was wrong, unfortunately.
I think it's really great of you to tell this story, because, you know, it's so educational for people who've never had an episode. And these things, you know, even what happened to you about falling over in the snow and with your granddaughter and so on, that, you know, it just shows how these things can come out of the blue and catch you out. And you need to be aware of what to do to manage it. So I think it's really a very educational story. I'm so pleased that you're happy to share it with us all.
Oh, if it stops one other person staying at home and doing it, like I said, I'm always careful. And it just shows, like, you would never expect it. Never in a million years did I expect to be on kidney dialysis in hospital for 10 days at all. But, you know, if it can happen when somebody's 53 and managed to stay out of hospital all their life, it can definitely happen to any. You just don't know, but just go to hospital, don't stay at home. You are not getting better staying at home. Like, I realise that now. I should have just gone, but hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I'm at home, I'm fine. I've got no lasting kidney damage. They will go back, which was an issue for the consultant at the time, because he obviously didn't know how extreme the damage was. But no, everything will go back to normal, and I'll just go for slow and steady away and won't carry anybody in the snow anymore.
Well, thank you very, very much. That's really great.
No, that's fine. No, thank you so much, Andrew, and thank you for being there whenever I needed you.
That's a pleasure. Okay, thanks very much.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. All right. Bye. Bye.